give mine to my wife, so she'll take her right down the thing she'll.
Good evening. We want to welcome everyone. We have a very nice crowd. But welcome to the January the 23rd, 2025 Lawrence County School System Board regular meeting. We started this a few months ago. To start every meeting, we recognize a local student to discuss character traits. And this month we have Hudson Maddox from Lawrence County High School. So Hudson, come close.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity. Let me come speak to y'all. The character trait I've chose is perseverance. I'll be reading a verse out of James 1. Blessed is the one who endures trials, because when he has stood the test, he will receive the crown of life that God has promised those who love him. This verse means that when we stay in the trial, we keep running that race, we'll run through it, and we stay the track, God will reward us. It's not just going to be it's going to be hammering on you. The devil's going to be hammering on you all the time. When you receive the crown of life, it's like we're basically going to be in heaven. It's going to be great times. Great times are coming ahead. So I'm going to pray and ask for guidance for everybody. Father, thank you for this day, Lord. Thank you for all these great men and women up here, God. Thank you for allowing them to lead us, God. I pray that you just help their decisions, God. Give them the wisdom that we all need, God. Thank you for keeping everybody safe, God. I pray for those in need, Lord. Thank you for everything you do for us, Father. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mr. Madden. Appreciate that very much. First item on the agenda, we will have the Pledge of Allegiance, so I invite everyone to please stand. Mr. Weathers, will you lead us in the pledge?
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Miss Jessica, would you please call roll?
Mr. Adams?
Here.
Alexander? Here. Daniel?
Here.
Dryden?
here.
Jacobs? Here. Rochelle?
Here.
Dr. Shannon?
Here.
Ms. Watson? Here. Mr. Weathers?
Here.
9 present.
All present. Student recognitions. Ingersoll Elementary School. We'll turn the floor over to Miss Tracy Marks.
Thank you and good evening, board members. Tonight it is my honor and privilege to introduce to you Espen Powell. She is an exceptional student at Ingram South, and she began her journey with us when she was 3 years old. She is in our medically fragile classroom, and her first day of school was filled with tears. It broke my heart, and she had to adjust to her new environment and unfamiliar faces. But over time, Espen has just blossomed. She shares smiles and positive interactions with her peers. She now enjoys breakfast with her peers. She will wave, she will point. She just is a source of joy for everyone around us. So I asked her teachers who work closely with her just to give me a little more insight. And so here are some of their comments. Espen was nonverbal and cried constantly when she started school at 3 years of age. She is now saying words, pointing at pictures and people, and is completing all of her goals and activities. Espen is wheelchair bound, and within a few short months, she was walking and running in her gait trainer. She is now taking steps independently, and if you'll notice to the back of the room, there isn't a wheelchair. So she can maneuver her wheelchair when she needs to, and she can, it is nothing that pleases me more when I walk around the corner and there's Espen walking toward me with help, that she is making steps. She's very sociable, very lovable. She loves everyone, and she loves to say hi and hello. She will clap and she will point, and again, she's exceeding her goals, her expectations. So I want to introduce to you Miss Espen Powell, our student, our outstanding student.
Look at me. You look at me. All right, we got it. Good
Thank y'all very much. Next, recognition, Director Atkins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Tennessee School Board Association places a premium on lifelong learning and active participation for school board members. With TSBA's Boardmanship Active Participation Program, members are recognized for their commitment to training and attending conferences and service to the community. TSBA's program not only recognizes quality of participation, but quantity of participation. Boardmanship recognition involves 3 categories: training and events, experience, conventions, and workshops. TSBA Boardmanship Awards and Recognition Program consist of 5 levels, and 1 through 5, 5 being the highest. Previously, TSBA recognized several Lawrence County School System board members for their unwavering commitment and service to the faculty, staff, students, and community. Our past honorees, Kevin Caruso, Dr. Ricky Mabry, Mr. Jerry Dryden, and Mr. Nicky Hartsfield. All were recognized for earning TSBA Level 2 recognition. Tonight, TSBA proudly recognizes Mrs. Brenda Jacobs on earning her Level 4 pin, which was earned in 2007. At the time, only 5 boardmanship levels existed. Mrs. Jacobs has completed 384 training events since joining the board, 249 workshops, and 57 experience points, totaling 690 points. She has earned 185 points to earning the highest TSBA level, which is 5. The only remaining objective is completing a portfolio. Out of the current 988 board members in Tennessee, only 210, or just above 20% of all board members in the state, have achieved this Level 4 recognition from TSBA. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in congratulating Mrs. Brenda Jacobs for her unwavering commitment to Lawrence County.
It doesn't matter.
Maybe we can get a picture of that. Is that okay?
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jacobs. So next item on the agenda will be public comments. I wasn't handed anything before the meeting. I don't believe we have anything prepared from the public comment section. So we'll move on to consent items, voice vote, adoption of agenda, approval of minutes, approval of business report, approval of volunteers, and approval of overnight field trips.
Motion to approve A through E.
We have a motion to approve. We have a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda, report items. School reports. We'll have Ingram Sal Elementary School. Again, Mr. Principal Tracy Marks.
I know you all have a digital copy. I gave you a paper copy as well, but I want to thank you for the opportunity to come. And I also just want to provide an honest reflection of where we are as a school, where we stand, our challenges, and the steps that we're taking to support our students. Right now we're currently classified as an underperforming school. We have significant room for growth in our test scores and just overall student achievement. A large percentage of our students are chronically out of school, and this poses a challenge to their academic process. If they're not at school, they're not going to learn. And so we see this year after year. When we look at the attendance numbers in just a moment, many of the students have excused absences. Doctors are writing notes. They're out for legitimate reasons. We have medically fragile. We have students that just have a lot of disabilities, and when they're out, those marks count against us, but it's kind of a part of who we are as a school. And then of the 357 students that were accountable for our school data for summative assessment, 285 of those are economically disadvantaged. And so that represents a majority of our student population. So when you get to the school report, I thought it was great to start kind of with the demographics, because this year we were placed back on the TSI list with the State Department. This means that we're receiving targeted supports for improvement from the Tennessee Department of Education, and we were identified. You can see the graph at the top, the little pie chart. White, Black, Hispanic, Native American is who we're representing for that status. And so you can look and see our population of white students is 297, Hispanics 64. We have 2 American Indian, and then 41 African American or Black students. And so, again, we have for our standardized test on TCAP, our school letter grade was a D, and the composite literacy and numeracy was a level 1, and school-wide science was a level 2. So for Ames Web, this is a universal screener that we give to students 3 times per year. And this year, we, just looking at our Ames Web data and understanding the deficiencies that we have as a school, really decided this year to focus, or intensely focus, on helping students. So as a school, we set a goal that all of our students would be reading at the 50th percentile. That's 10% higher than what the state considers reading on grade level. They consider 40th percentile. We shot for 50th percentile. So we're looking and holding students to a different level of accountability even with that. And again, for how we're fighting that and looking at that, well, I'll get to that in a moment, but I included 2023, 2024 data where you can look at the B is for beginning of the year data, M is for middle, and E is for end. We look mostly at the beginning and the end because the middle can fluctuate. So sometimes they might perform really well or go down during that testing period, that screening period. And then we currently have that going on right now. We have Ames Web screening going on during the month of January. So every student is being assessed. And as of the fall data, whenever we did it, right when students entered school in August, we had, out of our 385 students that we tested at that time, 92 students were reading on grade level. And you can see on the chart the breakdown. First grade's very concerning to us. We had 6 children, which was 3% of the population. And winter we're working on. If you look at first grade, right now it says 17 students are reading on grade level. We've not finished testing. We have just finished what is called the ORF, or the oral reading fluency. So we're still in the midst of testing. So pre-K hasn't tested, first grade hasn't tested. We're working feverishly with kindergarten and getting them tested just our weather days, all of those things kind of throw off our testing schedule. But we're looking, and we know that some of the areas we needed to work on is oral reading fluency, vocabulary, and then just comprehension with our older students, getting them ready for taking a TCAP test, which is more than just reading. I know our state has put a lot of faith in the testing we're using that as a measure of reading on grade level. There is so much more to a TCAP test. There's a lot of analysis. There's multi-step. It is so in-depth, and it doesn't require kids just to read, but they have to read with comprehension at a very high level. On the next page, what we came up with, knowing that our students need to work very, very much on that oral reading fluency, we call it reading raptors, but really it's just our focus is on oral reading fluency and sight words. So one of the goals that we set as a school, that every student would be reading on grade level, so we're connecting this to the home, to our children's parents and their home lives. to seek help from the parents every night, having students read sight words. These are automatic words. You see it, you say it. And so that we're sending that home for parents to initial, again, understanding that not every child has that support at home. This is not punitive for students. So when they come in and it isn't signed, we're listening to them read them. We're having a partner listen to them read them, because our goal is they're reading them. It doesn't matter to me if you're a mama, a daddy, or a fifth grade helper. I need you to listen to them read. And so, we also did the first 1,000 sight words. That is 65% of reading. Knowing our children need vocabulary building, so we're working on that through our tutoring, through our intervention classes, through RTI. So we are intensively focusing on those areas, trying to help our kids read on grade level. So that is a definite area of weakness that we know, and we're very aware, and we're working, every person is working to provide that quality education for our students. Again, next is attendance. That's an area for us that's a weakness. Out of those 357 students that were accountable for our data, 119 of them are chronically absent, 33%. And if you look at the breakdown, again, we're looking as a TSI school, we're looking at our white population, our black population, all of those different subgroups that we have been targeted for. We're looking at those percentages as well. When you're faced with students who are giving you notes from doctors, and they're excused, but it still counts. They're missing instructions. So it's one of those, what we are doing for our action plan is we do incentives, we do challenges, we have attendance contracts that we put students on. We have our social worker that we utilize as every time we have a student that we see struggling coming to school. And then, of course, we petition to court as well. So those are some of our findings for our weaknesses, is just getting kids to school, keeping kids healthy, and making sure that they're receiving quality Tier 1 instruction, and then interventions that are meeting them where they are for their needs. Some of the accomplishments that we have this year is we are working, of course, capturing kids' hearts. We do community projects often, and so we this year again made a donation to the Grace House. We have 3 students that are in the Millionaire Club. I thought I had written their names down, but I don't have their names with me. But we've had 3 students that have read 1 million words, and so we have celebrated them. We have a robotics club. We added this year to our list of kind of the extracurriculars. We have soccer, we have cross country, but this year we actually added basketball back into the playlist. So our students are learning the rules. They're not fortunate enough they get to play on a travel team and have that type. So they're still learning the rules, but they had a great time. They learned so much, and one of our students was even invited after they saw his potential to be on a travel team. So again, giving students that exposure. We have just started a drone team. I don't know if you've ever been in a building where drones are flying around, but it's hazardous, but we have a good time with it. So we have drones flying everywhere. We have before school tutoring. We have our after-school SEL program that has a STEM focus, our Lego League, our Reading Raptors that we're working on, where we're identifying students who are reading on grade level. We have career exploration with J.A. Biztown, and then we this year also added FCA. We had been the only school in our district that did not have an FCA, and that's not something I can start or a teacher can start. We have to have a student leader that is willing to take ownership of that club and run that club. And so they found the right person that got with the right teacher, and they got to me, and I kept saying, I will approve it. I just have to be presented with it by a student, and that happened this year. So they actually met this morning, and so students are really having a wonderful time for that. We are still in our STEM designation with TSEN, and this is definitely an honor. We have worked very hard to get this STEM designation. We are on year 2 of that 5-year recognition, and we are doing our STEM projects. There are school-wide PLCs that go the whole year long. So our first year that got us STEM designated was called Around the World. The next year, we went out of the world, and then this year we're going into the world. We're doing an intensive study through STEM of geology, and so our students are really enjoying that study, and we've been going on STEM Quest, and anytime you can talk about dinosaurs, kids light up and the engagement goes really high. And so we will repeat this cycle starting next year. We'll be around the world again, and so they'll get all of this all over again, so they'll get it 2 times in their stay with us at school. We are also a national showcase school for Capturing Kids' Hearts. We were very proud of that honor. We were nominated by our strategist, and then we had to present all of the findings that, and then they determined whether or not we met the criteria to be a showcase school for Capturing Kids' Hearts. It is creating a positive and respectful environment where students are responsible and they're safe, so we're very excited about that. Our staff accomplishments, Paula Davis, she is fantastic with our 5th grade. She's fantastic with our Lego students and our robotics. She received the Coach Mentor Award through the first Lego League Challenge. And then, of course, Miss Kayla Bailey is representing us this year as our Teacher of the Year, and Lisa Prince was last year. Our staff and student population, currently we have 45 certified, 22 classified, 14 additional support personnel. We have 1 person with a provisional license, and actually that should be 2. I went back through T-Encompass today, and we do have 2 teachers that are on like a permit. They are working on taking their final praxis test to get that. So, but they are licensed. It's just with a permit license. We have 1 teacher on maternity leave, but a certified teacher is filling that position, and she will be returning in May. And then we have another set to go on maternity leave in March, but will not return until we return back to school in July. So our student count, one of the things I think is probably most shocking is since we've returned from Christmas break, we have received 26 new students. So enrollment is going up for some reason very quickly on all of a sudden. These numbers, when I prepared this packet for you, were from that couple of weeks ago. So we keep getting students in, but pre-K 36 at that time, kindergarten 63, first grade 49, second grade 65, third grade 57, fourth grade 53, fifth grade 61, and our medically fragile is 13, but our UDL and our special ed pre-K is 42 students. And then you can see the ratios there. You can look, we're running anywhere from 20 to 1 down to 16 to 1 in those classrooms. So I've got that broken down for you. And just numbers, if we're throwing out numbers from the 435 students we now have in our building, our population's gone up, 158 of them, that is 36% of them have an ILP, an IEP, or a 504. And we feel like that's a very high number of students who need additional supports for their learning. And so an ILP will be for our Hispanic population, those who are learning English. An IEP, that is determined through testing, and that's an individualized education plan. And then a 504 is under that umbrella, but it's separate and apart in a way. Discipline-wise, we have 62 students who have received office referrals this year. 62. But those 62 students, we have received multiple for some. So right now we're sitting at a total of 167 office referrals for some type of misbehavior in our school, not following our expectations. 4 students are at Stepping Stones. 3 students are in the new behavior class that is at J.C. Barnett. And this year, we have completed 7 threat risk assessments for students who have threatened to harm either another student or the school. And so we've conducted those threat risk per our training that we received, and have concluded the results from those, and I always report those to Ms. Cope. And students who have IEPs, those individualized education plans, if they become disruptive with their behavior in class, we actually call an IEP team meeting, and we add additional behavior goals to their IEP, and we begin that that behavior plan to help support them with behaving. And then right now, we have 15 students in our building that are on a behavior plan or a safety plan per either a threat risk or just chronic, willful, persistent violation of expectations. So present projects, we are so proud of our new playground on the west side of our school. It was completed with the help. We had several players in that, and we're very thankful for them. And our future projects at the school include some bathroom renovations. We've been waiting for those. I think I have annoyed Mr. Tucker at least once a month, sending him emails of like, where am I on the list? So we have everything in our warehouse. We're ready to go. We're just waiting for the manpower to come in and get those things done. And it's difficult because we have children who need to go to the restroom. So finding the time to gut a bathroom and redo a bathroom is very difficult. And so as I close, I feel like I've gone on for a long time, but I just want to bring to you mental health. And I'm 29 years into this game, 29 years that I have been working with children, and I have never in my 29 years witnessed some of the emotional dysregulation that I'm seeing with students right now. These behaviors are escalating to the point where it interrupts instruction. When we're looking at being a level 1 school and we want to move past that, we have to help kids. Now, we have our social workers, we have behavior, we have, where we can do FBAs. There's lots of things that we can do, but it is heartbreaking to watch a child throw things, and you can't be mad at them because they're in pain, they're suffering, and the only way they know to get this out is to push furniture around, throw things, and just elope. And so we're running after kids. We're capturing kids. We're capturing kids' heart school. And to put a little lightness to it, we're capturing sometimes more than just their hearts. We're capturing their little bodies when they run across, when they're trying to get away from us. But this is also impacting teachers. Because I know this year that I have experienced a teacher to have to go get put on anxiety medication just to come to work. So I don't know if I could fix it, I would have already fixed it. But it's a mental health crisis where we just need more counselors. We need them. Our kids, in the good old days, my kindergarten children, when I first started teaching, would go to a weekly counseling class. Good touch, bad touch. Our kids today don't know what that is. They don't know if that's supposed to be about, because we're not telling them. We're not working with them. We're not doing puppets. We're just so driven with, do they have this 100 words done? Can they do these 100 words? But their mental health is suffering. So my imploration would be, let's do something for the mental health of kids, of adults, and I don't know how it is at the other schools. I don't know what they're experiencing, but we have children on an abbreviated day because they can't make it the whole day. And so they're just, I don't know if these are our little COVID babies. I don't know. They never got taken to restaurants and things of that nature, but we are wreaking the havoc of it now. And so just to put that on your radar and your front burner somewhere, it's coming, it's here. And just to, as you're thinking about what do schools need, we need all the additional behavioral health supports that we can put in place for students. So that is all I have. I will be quiet. Questions you have? Yes.
2 questions. Back to the 26 new students. I'm just interested in knowing, did they come from within the county or?
They are from Wisconsin. They're from everywhere.
Okay.
And they're also coming broken. They're coming. One of the students that we received had his IEP came in a box that cost $15 to send. Mm-hmm. So. And in regards to counselors, are they able, or first of all, how many counselors do you have at that school? I have 1 counselor.
Okay. Is he or she able to do small group sessions or? Yes, we have her right now. We're trying to get in front
because we don't do classes. I think there's some schools that may do a class with their guidance counselor, with their school counselor. She does a monthly push-in with every single student. It's a Capturing Kids' Hearts Counselor's Corner, where she is working with them on its respectfulness, empathy, being kind to others will be our theme for February, and there are lessons that she does with the students, so.
In
She is
the
doing that.
classroom.
And then the other part of her time is spent with dysregulated students, and then also she works with my assistant principal, and they work through attendance, going through, seeing where we are on the attendance process, who needs to be referred next to maybe to Ms. Cope for a petition, so.
Does the counselor work totally with counseling students, or is she assigned to activity classes, other classes?
She is not an activity teacher.
Okay,
She
good.
is, yes. Mhm.
There's no time for that, in my opinion. Yeah.
I have one more question. Tracy, on the ratios, are those 26 students included in the ratios that you?
No, that was not, no.
Okay.
But we're still sitting within the limits with every class, so we're okay.
Your absenteeism, how does that stack up with the rest of the schools in our?
It's the highest in the county.
By what is the?
It's higher than the high schools.
Yeah,
Okay.
And high schools are in the high teens, low 20s sometimes.
Ms. Marks, does that, you're absent, of course, you've got the chronically, with physical conditions.
Medically fragile, yes.
What portion of that do you think would be that? Children that just have chronic disability, illnesses that,
Well, see, I think to me, grouping in mental health, you would be surprised how many students are checked out
okay.
to go to mental health services. And if they're going out to a mental health service, we can't provide it in-house because that's a conflict of interest. You can't have two counselors. And so we have several students, and every time they check out, it counts against us. But I don't want them to not go to that. That's
Sure.
important. So I don't know, but. And you think about medically fragile, UDL, it's a lot of hand-to-mouth things. They're touching, hand-to-mouth, and they get sick. They just get sick.
Ms. Marks, I just want to say thank you for your transparency on all this and letting us know some of these. And one of my questions was going to be was your greatest need, but I think you answered that pretty clearly on that. Obviously, also the morale of the teachers, that was important. And then I jotted something down as far as the third grade retention law.
Yes.
And how those third grade teachers are holding up with the testing and things like that. I just wanted you to kind of explain that.
My third grade team is a powerhouse. They are amazing with how they interact, how they approach, and how they work with students. We do have a third grade meeting with our parents that's coming up on the 30th. So we will be, again, just notifying them. We will also have a new round of data with this Ames web testing that we're having. We'll have a new set of data points that we can talk with them about, and just make sure they're aware of the importance of the reading Raptors. We're reading, we're practicing, we're comprehending. One of the things I left out is we did purchase some ABC TCAP books with some of our STEM money that we were given through our STEM designation for science and math. And then we used some other funding for the ELA that we're really working with students on analyzing those TCAP questions. So we're breaking it down. How do we circle the right words? So test-taking strategies without taking too much away from Tier 1 instruction, because that's where the goal is that Tier 1 instruction for all students. So.
Chairman Daniels, Mr. Atkins, is there a way we can look at maybe some programs to get some grant money to do some of the stuff she's asking for the mental health? Try to get them some assistance there.
And we have Katie Reed. She's our social worker. She is phenomenal. We have to share her though, and that's part of funding. That's part of, I guess, life, if you will. But she's phenomenal. And we do have a mental health counselor. She's there part-time, and And so, but she sees people when she's there. She's about to go on maternity leave, so that will leave us again with, I don't know how we cover. And once they build that relationship, it's
That's right.
hard then all of a sudden to, I'm going to stop talking with you and then start talking here, so it's
sometimes that's all they see, a revolving door.
a
of
raw, yeah,
adults, you know.
true.
Yeah,
True.
we can
So-
look at that. Appreciate it.
All right.
Any other questions from Ms. Marks?
Mr. Chairman, I just want to, I'd say this about Mrs. Mark's school, and say it about New Prospect at any of our elementary schools. Go stand in the mornings when parents are dropping kids off or kids are getting off the buses, and the way they greet those kids and handle those kids, they start their day perfect. It's wonderful the way they begin the day with students. For so many students, that's what they need, and I tell you that it happens at New Prospect, it happens at Ingram Sal, it happens at Lawrenceburg Public, Leoma. All of our schools are out there meeting those kids. If you go to Etheridge in the morning, you're going to hear music being played while they're welcoming those kids, and just they start their day off, and that's a testament to the people in our schools. One other thing, for students who do not have the opportunity to read to an adult every night, is there a need for people to come over, adults to come over and allow a student to read to them? Is that something that we could do?
Absolutely, absolutely, and we have it pulled, or we have it ready for the kids to read and everything, and I really do, I honestly believe, I reject the notion that my children can't learn. I reject that notion. I don't believe that. We have to find the right way for them to learn, and that their current situation is not going to determine what's going to happen to them in the future. And I think our major strength lies within the adults in the building. And I do mental health check-ins with when I can feel the pulse, and when the pulse starts going down, I will send a memo to them, a survey, and I ask for their name, and how are you ready for this week? And I was even talking about with Miss Leeper, Sunday night's really the big factor for how I'm going to start Monday morning. Am I dreading coming to school Sunday night? And so just seeking their pulse point of how they're feeling on Sunday nights before they come to school on Monday mornings, because that's how they're going to engage with students. If they dread coming, if they feel overwhelmed by a parent or overwhelmed by a test, and we can throw so much at them that it's overwhelming. We have a lot of plate spinning, and sometimes we have to back up in that perspective and just see what plates can we remove. And Mr. Atkins has done a great job with seeking that from teachers. What can we remove from your plate that's within reason to support teachers? So he's already sent that survey. We have asked, teachers always want more time. They want more intellectual prep. They want just to be left alone and let them teach is what they want. And if a child is misbehaving, they want me, Miss Moore, or Miss Leeper to come remove that barrier during that time. So that's what we do, is we make sure teachers can teach. And I tell them often, anything that stops you from teaching is mine. Give it to me. I will take whatever it is that's bothering you. And so that's how we're supporting. And then to me, advocating for them tonight. But I really do feel that every child that doesn't get to experience our teachers in our school is kind of a disadvantaged child, because what we're offering is we offer that love. We are consistent, and we try to be there for those students. So that's my philosophy and thought.
Question, I guess, and I'll direct this toward you, Mr. Atkins, but in what she said, hinging off what Board Member Shannon has asked, do we have a Big Brother system in the county? Or is there any other ways to, just trying to think out of the box, is there, high school FCA students, our Key Club, some leadership within our older juniors and seniors that make it take an hour or two and go sit and eat lunch with a kid or two? I mean, is there different ways to assist with the mental health than just, of course, let's look to see if we can provide more counseling and professional help, but is there anything else that we can do? above that?
We have a mentor. It's usually retired people will bring our children. It's very nice. They'll bring them like a McDonald's sack lunch and things of that nature, and they just sit and just talk with them during their lunchtime. Our students love that attention. We also have teaching as a profession through Lawrence County High School, so we already have some high school students coming into our building to work with students, and just they want to be teachers, and so we try to make sure that we are kindling that fire so we can have more people want to go to school to be educators.
Thank you for this report, very detailed. One thing I would love to see is, and I love the graphs and the data that you presented on your chronic absenteeism. I would love to see next year those overlaid. Hey, this was last year's. Here's kind of what we did to try to address it. Did that work? Is it better? Is it what, I would love to see that side by side next year in your report, but excellent report, and thank you very much. Any other questions for Ms. Marks?
Absolutely.
I only have one. Of your kindergarten kids that enter kindergarten, I see you've got 36 pre-K. How many other, do those kids automatically come to Ingram South?
If they're zoned for us, they do. Some come that was an open spot, and so some will come and then go to their school that they're zoned to.
Okay, right off the top of your head, do you have a high percentage that attends Head Start?
I wouldn't know. I had some dealings today with a student that did go to Head Start, but they pulled him out of Head Start to put him into pre-K, so I don't know.
So you don't know how many that you have? Okay. Just a question.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, school report, J.C. Barnett Center, Principal Evan White.
Good evening, Board. First, I'm going to start off by saying this couldn't have been a more appropriate span of time for me to come present, because I want to say thank you for the new air conditioner units and the heating units in our classrooms. You know, I've had kids wearing jackets and coats for a long time in the classroom, and this was one of the first times I could go into a classroom and have a comfortable temperature, and that all students would be, you know, acceptable of that. They were working great. So I want to thank y'all, and I also want to thank Arctic Air, because I think they really got on it really quick, because I think that was just approved a couple months ago, maybe in October. So it was a pretty quick turnaround to be able to get all those installed. Just as an update on our numbers, we've interacted with 139 students from Lawrence County School Systems this year to this point. That's down a little bit, which is the first time I've been able to say that while I've been the principal of the alternative school. At the adult high school, we've seen 53 students. 39 of those have already graduated and have begun the next step of their academic or professional lives. And I'm going to go into a little bit more detail on all our programs, because I do think we have some new faces this year. So the adult high school, it is our 17 years of an age and older. It's called the adult high school, but we service a lot of students that are that junior, senior year that maybe have had a life-altering situation. Maybe they've had a hardship come up. There's a multitude of reasons. We have a lot that may go to the military, and maybe they're trying to, when they turn 18, they want to go on to training, and so they do that. We have students that may, unfortunately, have medical issues that require them to finish up their schooling so they can focus on those things. And so it's just always, I always use the word, some type of hardship that has been placed upon them, so that and this is our way to allow them to finish their schooling so that they can have that high school diploma whenever they need it at a later date. Or we do also have some that will go on and start their CTE programs and things like that. So every situation is a different situation. But we have had, like I said, 35 of those have graduated this year. At the same time, we have the students that go to the adult high school. We do still service 18 years and older, or what you would think of as more traditional adult students that'll come back and say, I dropped out with 3 credits left. It's 10 years later, and it's time for me to get those credits completed, so I can go on to go to school, or I want to get a better job, or I want to get a promotion at work, and they require this. And so we do still service those students as well. I think right now we've got maybe about 5 or 10 of those individuals that are in the program. And they kind of just work at their own pace because they've obviously got life going on. Most of them are working full-time jobs, and they're trying to work on this stuff, in their downtime, which we know how much downtime everybody has in life, and that's not always a ton. But so those people are working on those, and so it's kind of 2 different avenues that people go. We do have a graduation ceremony. I say it every year, May 17th at 12 p.m. I encourage everybody to come and watch. I will say it's the most unique graduation experience in Lawrence County, just because it's just that we may only have 15 participants walking across the stage, but we're going to have about 150 people in the stands, or 150 people sitting in the seats watching their loved ones that they've supported and helped get to that point. You'll have a 17-year-old or an 18-year-old young man sitting right next to possibly a 45 or a 50-year-old person who's been working on this for maybe a year or 2 to get through. So it's a really unique experience. So I encourage you to come and check it out. So after we go from the adult high school, we dropping down in, I'm just going in age-wise. You've got the Achievement Academy. So that is our more traditional alternative school placement. And I say more traditional because I don't think we're necessarily just the straight-up traditional alternative school, because we do have a large number of our students who come to us for non-disciplinary reasons. They may be credit deficiency, they may be anxiety, depression, things like that, where they may need a break from a larger population. We have a lot of students that may come to us from another county, and we're a block schedule. And a lot of other counties may be, 8 periods a day all year long. Well, they come to you at Christmas, and they're at risk of dropping credits. So we may recoup those credits before we get them back to a traditional school, whether it be Lawrence County High School, Summertown, or Loretto. We also have students that come to us for attendance, which that can be sided on with the discipline part as well. But so I would say right now we're about 70% discipline, 30% others is what I kind of talk about, the non-disciplinary students. So we've seen 76 students at the Achievement Academy this school year to this point, and I assume that will continue to go up as we approach the end of the school year. I have the breakdowns of typically why students are with me on that sheet, if you want to check those out. Those are pretty consistent year after year, because I was looking at them just sitting back there, that it's pretty consistent as far as the percentages of why students are with us. Like I said, in last year, the possession of drugs and alcohol, that has really ramped up in the last 3 to 4 with the introduction of your THC and your Delta 8 in gas stations. And I know we know all that's a huge obstacle to overcome for our county, just because it's so readily available for our students that we have some places you can walk in and grab it, and they won't ID, they won't check those things, they won't, even though it may be a 17-year-old student who doesn't look 21, to them a sale is a sale. So that's kind of our Achievement Academy program. Those students are usually referred to us either through Ms. Cope, who handles a lot of that through student services, but also we have a SDHA process where students go in front of a panel and they're determined, are the thing they're being accused of, are they essentially guilty or not guilty of, and they may be placed at my school for a different amount of time. And we base that time off of a point system. So our point system, they get 10 points per day. Based upon their behavior, determines how many points they maintain for that day. And so they've got typically a level out is the language that I use. A level out's 300 points, and it typically takes 45 to 50 days for that student to reach those points on average. So they should be able to get done in 30 days, but most of the time with behaviors and attendance is also part of that. So if they're not there, they're obviously not achieving those, they're not receiving those points. And so it usually takes about 45 days for a student to complete a 30-day, 300-point level out. So that's kind of how the Achievement Academy goes, and that is for our 6th grade through 12th grade students. Once you drop below the 6th grade level, It is our Stepping Stones program. Stepping Stones is, best way I can explain it is, we're trying to deal with behaviors that have become so escalated in a classroom that they're disrupting classroom and potentially putting people at risk of harm. Throwing, kicking, biting, those things like that. The more extreme behaviors is kind of what's going in there. Those students, they take a lot of supports. We're looking at 6 to 7 students in that classroom at a time. And our hopes are always for those students to be able to transition back to their traditional school so that they can receive their education in a traditional setting. Just because, that program is a range of first grade through 5th grade students. It's very difficult to have a teacher that can be an expertise in all standards 1st through 5th grade. So our goals are to triage that behavior, get that behavior under control so that they can re-enter the classroom and learn from those classroom and those grade level expertises in the traditional schools. New to us this year at the J.C. Barnett is our special education UDL classroom. And it is similar in the sense of a lot of the students that have been placed with me have more escalated behaviors. A lot of those students before this year would have been placed in a facility or placed at a residential facility that, like King's Daughters or things like that. And so we've been able to maintain some of those students at home with our staff. And not only is it, let's be honest, it's a cost benefit savings, but it's also, we're keeping kids in our system. We're able to monitor what's going on with them. And also those placements are not easy to find. And so there's a lot of times we'll have a waiting list. Those students may be on homebound for a long period of time while they're waiting on those because they may be too dangerous to have in school or may put other students in danger by having them at school. And so what we do is we're just housing them at the J.C. Barnett and providing those services for them in Lawrence County school systems versus subbing that out to a outside agency such as King's Daughters, or there's plenty of other. That's just the only one I can think of right now currently. So I am not that long-winded, and so you're welcome to question me to death, but that's all I've got for as far as the state of the J.C. Barnett currently.
Evan, I'm curious, so speak to, how many students do you have in the special ed UDL?
Currently there are 5.
One teacher?
1 teacher and 2 assistants.
How many teachers? Go through the others. How many teachers
Sure.
have you got at each level? I would like to know right now.
So the UDL classroom, there is 1 special ed teacher and 2 special ed assistants, and that's serving a population of 5 right now, and it fluctuates sometimes from 5 up a little bit. My Stepping Stones class, my 1st through 5th grade students, there's 1 teacher in there as well as 2 assistants, and that's servicing usually around 6 to 8 kids at a time. And those are, like I said, a lot of that time is spent with maybe an assistant helping transition a student back into the school system or the traditional school they're at. So we may send one of those assistants, or possibly my social worker, Mr. Case Gobble, may go and either get the day started with them, or it may be a situation where they stay with them all day just to be as an extra support for that student as they go back to school, a school that they may or may not have been to, or it may have been a long time since they've been there. I do have a social worker for my building, who's Mr. Case Gobble. He does wonderful work over there. We have in the Achievement Academy, 6 through 12. That's the majority of the students that we service. And then that we have 4 teachers, and then every teacher has an educational assistant in that classroom. So we have 4 teachers and 4 assistants in that program. And that's new to this year. I believe last year we had 3, and we have upped that to 4 this year. In the adult high school, there's 1 teacher and 1 educational assistant that works on that. But we have recently received an AIRS Foundation counselor in that classroom. I think she started like last week. So we're excited to have her there to help look for and facilitate those after graduation opportunities for those students as they finish.
I have a question for you, I guess maybe also Mr. Atkins. If you were to explain or if you were to define success, outside of the adult high school, I think every one of those is certainly a success, but if you were to define success for the Achievement Academy, what we look like comparable to other districts like us, and, you know, how much success do you feel like the Achievement Academy is doing?
I feel like we do quite well. We've a lot of times we'll get other alternative schools to come in and look and see how we're doing and what we're doing that's different. I will say, I think Mr. Dunn, who started a lot of this, was well in front of, I would say, the masses when it came to handling behaviors in a different way. Instead of just being punitive, working on why those behaviors are there, working on what we can do to fix the underlying issues that may be causing those things, whether it be maybe home life situations or whether it be something additional that they need educationally, IEP, 504s, behavior plans, and those things. So I mean, I feel like we're quite successful in the Achievement Academy in that sense, because I do feel like a lot of schools or a lot of districts are still in that strictly punitive, come do your time, you do X number of days, go back to school, or a rising number of students are just being expelled at this point from a lot of districts.
So, I mean, but I guess digging down a little bit deeper, Mr. White, is how many return students is your definition of success? Hey, I saw this kid once, I never see him again for 4 years, or is it success for the alternative schools? Is this year we had 150 students, next year I'm only got 140. So, you know, what does success look like?
I think success. I think we play a key role into all those metrics that the other schools are also doing. The classroom time with students who, if you have behavior issues in class, it makes it difficult for all students to learn, and we understand that. And so having a place for those students to come so those other students can learn is great. I also do feel like with our individual students, I'll typically say, listen, email me, call me, get a hold of me any way you want, but I hope that I don't ever see you on this side of the Achievement Academy. If I see you out and about in the schools, absolutely, I want to talk to you, I want to see you, I want to catch up with you and how things are going. But my expectation is that I don't see you at another DHA or see another paperwork coming back that says, here comes so and so.
Do you see many repeat?
We do see repeats. I mean that's a given part. I don't know what that percentage is off the top of my head. I can think of, there's probably 5 right now that are with me currently that have been with me previously.
So I keep scratching the surface on this, but the possession of drugs and alcohol are drugs. So I'm assuming, and maybe this is a wrong assumption, but you mentioned Delta 8. So 33, that possession of drugs is without a doubt your number one case.
Yes,
And so vapes, is that probably 99% of those cases?
The majority of that's going to be, it's either going to be under the influence on campus of a THC or a Delta 8 of some type, or it's going to be physical possession of a DAP cart, which is a Delta 8 type device.
I guess, Mr. Atkins, this is a question to you, and from a board standpoint, is our policy, are we doing the right thing? And is this helping these kids? Is this the right course of action for a kid caught with a vape? And I guess it's not every vape, it's just only the Delta 8 vapes?
So, yeah.
Sorry, Ms. Colt, go ahead.
So it is actually a state law.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
State law tells us that when a student is caught with an illegal substance, that they get a calendar year of expulsion.
Wow.
So they allow each system, instead of expelling a student, if you have an alternative school, they allow us to place them at the alternative school for a calendar year. So what Mr. Atkins has done and what we've done in the past is on a first offense, we do give them a shortened time if they go over and do. So they're over there for 12 weeks on a first offense.
So is that law Was that put on the books before Delta 8?
Oh, it's on the books
For a long time. That's been on the books if you got marijuana or any illegal substance.
Like, we're talking like marijuana.
Right, right.
What, we would see, but now it has gone to the Delta 8s. It is the vapes that contain THC.
I hadn't seen leaf marijuana in years. I mean, it's
all in.
it's all a different form.
So you just said that the law was it's a year,
Yes.
but on a first offense, we do 12 weeks?
We can do 12
We
weeks.
can- we
You
can.
have latitude within that law.
Mr. Atkins, the director, has latitude. We don't as a school system, I cannot say you get 12 weeks.
So do we use individual case-by-case judgment on that, or do we have this is what we do?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So that students who are placed there for their first zero tolerance, just like I told you about the 300-point level out, they're required to get a 600-point level out, and then we have a transition process with each school. And so we have a meeting with the school, the parent, the student, and we determine, when's a good time for this student to transition back to school. Are they meeting goals? Are they passing their classes? Are they showing up to school? If they're not doing those things, then we'll kick the ball down the road and say, well, we'll meet back again in, a month or 2 months or whatever we determine. But if that student is completing those things, then Mr. Atkins has given us the leeway to let that student return under what we call a probationary period. So for the remainder of that one calendar year, they can return back to me under that same original charge, I guess is the best way I can say it.
Thanks, sir. Any other questions?
I do. I wanted to finish that thought, though. Thanks for coming, Mr. White. The question I would have, I guess, is do you still follow like an attendance policy? Do you have any issues with like tardiness and stuff like that?
Absolutely, yeah. We have the same attendance policy in the whole county. I mean, attendance it doesn't reset or anything when you transition from school to school. Okay. And so that attendance carries over with them to us. I mean, we do the same thing. We have attendance contracts that we work on. I have a Google script that I've set up that sends out an automated text message and email every time a student's absent. And those parents will, are in that text, ask them to give me a call or send me a response back on, what's a reason for the absence today. And I get quite a few responses on that. And then if they miss 3 days in a row, that triggers a response for me I'll call them and find out, is there a bigger issue going on? Is there, home situation going on? Something more extensive than just a 1-day absence. And then we also monitor that anything over 5 unexcused absences, according to the state, is truant. And that's when we, once we've done those lower levels of attendance contracts and communicate with the parents, that's when we get Ms. Cope involved and discuss that petition for truancy.
Any of those issues due to transportation? Because this is all over the county, so
which we,
from you.
We've not really. We just now started the not having bus transportation to the J.C. Barnett after Christmas, and I mean I have been there under no transportation. I've been there under transportation, and then I'm back here. I'm still here under no transportation. Very few times have I seen a student not be able to make it to school. That might be what the parent tells me at the meeting, but typically at the end of the day, they're there. I can't think of anybody that I've sent to truancy court for not being able to participate due to no transportation.
Okay, thank you.
They typically find a way.
Appreciate that.
Any other questions, Mr. White? Thank you, sir.
Thank y'all.
So the next item on the agenda is personnel report. Y'all should have seen that in your packet. Any questions for Mr. Atkins on that personnel report? Yes. Academic report. Okay, moving on. We are going to move D above C. We're going to move academic report above Mr. Atkins. So, Ms. Ridgway.
So tonight, I'm here to talk to you about the state letter grades. They were released, and so now we were able to publicly talk about those. So the first thing you're going to see, I've put two papers at your table. One has pie charts at the top, and then the other one has the school letter grade data. Just to tell you where these scores come from, you have your K-8 schools that have 3 categories, and then your high schools have 4 categories. The achievement, you can see there what plays into the achievement part, which is 50% of the letter grades K-12. Your K-5, your 3-5 schools have ELA, math, and science. Your 6-8s have ELA, math, science, and social studies, and then their weights are there as well. And then 9-12, all of the tests that are given are proportional. So 50% of their schoolwork comes from those subjects. And then each subject is weighted, of course, with math and ELA being weighted the most. That's their achievement score. When you look at growth and growth 25, their growth score comes from the TVOS composite. That's calculated for us and is based on a yearly gain of a student in comparison with all the other students across the state. Growth 25 is the growth of our most needy students. So they look at the bottom 25% at each school, and they want to make sure that those students are growing. So that's factored into the school letter grade as well. All tested subjects are included except 3rd and 4th grade science. 3rd and 4th grade do take the science test, but it is not included in that score. Also, TCAP alt tests are not included, and those are for our special ed students. Some of our special ed students, but not all. College and career readiness is for high school only. There's the pathways listed there that a student can be determined college and career ready, and then the cut scores as well for you. And then the last page talks about the total calculation. The scores for a letter grade are 1 to 5. So you'll see there listed what the score had to be for the A through Fs. Do you have any questions about how it's calculated? All right, so when you look at the actual data, the first page that you have is just a comparison between what the schools had in 2023 and then what the schools had as a letter grade in 2024. The letter grades are there, the actual number score is there, and then the federal status is there. So targeted and reward schools are based on a federal calculation, not a state calculation. So that's how reward schools and targeted schools are determined. A reward school gets a federal calculation of a 3.1 or above, and then to be targeted in a subgroup, you are in the bottom 5% of the state in that specific subgroup, not as a whole, but in that subgroup. The second page that you have, if you'll look, I thought this was a good picture of the way the scores have fallen. The tan color, I guess you would say, is the 2023 scores, and then the gray color is the 23-24 schools. If you look at our scores for the schools, the majority of them had the same achievement score. So achievement is are your scores that are your students that score proficient. So you have 2 categories that are proficient and 2 categories that are not proficient. So if you look, we're maintaining our achievement, with 5 being the highest score there. So we're maintaining that achievement. Our problem in Lawrence County this past year was our growth. So when you look, the achievement, which we have struggled with in the past, so we've improved there, but our growth, we had 5 reward schools last year and we only had 1 this year. So if you look, that's because of our growth scores. Our college and career ready scores, they're right there. There's been a lot of work done there, and we're very proud of those scores. And you can see that the percentage of students that were college and career ready actually improved as well. Y'all have any questions?
I just have a comment. Kudos to Summertown High School.
They
Yeah.
improved. They improved their letter grade. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just looking at that, Ms. Watson, and kind of making some notes there at people who, I mean, where we improved, where we stayed the same, and where we dropped. And, you know, just looking at those last two columns, you know, I'm gonna call into question, you know, Etheridge dropped 2 from A to C. South Lawrence, is that right? Yeah, South Lawrence dropped 2 from A to C. So,
Yes.
obviously, some things to investigate and see, you know, where, can we put a cause to that? Maybe you can, maybe you can't, but
Right.
very good report.
It's this.
It is.
It's
I mean,
this.
it's, and, you know, there are a lot of districts in Tennessee that have that heartbeat of growth. You have a lot of growth one year, and then your growth
It's hard to
drops off the
maintain
next.
much growth.
So, that is an issue, and we are addressing it.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you, Ms. Ridgeway.
Thank you.
All right, board, before we move forward, I want to propose that we do a little bit of shuffling of this. We've got a crowd full of people here who have been patiently waiting, and we appreciate so much. So I would like to move line item 5, the approval of tenure, up to this stage of our meeting, and get these ladies and gentlemen what they came here for. And so, and then following that, I want to propose we take a 5-minute recess to the restroom, get a drink of water, stretch your legs, then we'll come back and reconvene to finish out the meeting. Is anybody opposed to those changes to this agenda? All right, thank you. Mr. Atkins, if you will, on the item 5, personnel items for consideration, the approval of tenure.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I am happy to read the names of the tenure candidates, and if they will come forward. We may have some who are unable to be with us tonight, but when your name is announced, if you would please come forward and just, Mr. Chairman, you want to face the board or face the audience, however you want to do that.
They can face come up, we can look at you as from the board standpoint when you walk up, and then when you get up there, turn around and face the audience.
I'm just going to call their name, not the school that they're at, because some of them have been reassigned, doing things for us in leadership roles and so forth. Brittany Campbell, Daniel Henson, Kaylee Van Etten, Leslie Hunt, Sierra Lopp, Jeanette Sockwell, Beth Lerner, Sandy Ambrose, Ashley Frakes, Kim Nichols, Tracy Bottoms, Leanne Nesbitt, Kayla Gray, Daisy Creek, Alex Stafford, Lindsay Jones, Dana Malugin, Casey Lovett, Brittany Sherrill, Haley Hallmark, Jennifer Webb, and Lakeisha Cannon. Mr. Chairman, all of these folks met the criteria, the requirements to be presented for tenure. The principals submitted letters to Mrs. Thompson, Director of HR, and I present them tonight to you for consideration of granting tenure to these dedicated men and women.
All right, we will take a roll call for approval of the tenure. Ms. Jessica, please call roll.
Adams,
Yes.
Alexander,
Yes.
Daniel,
Yes.
Dryden,
Yes.
Jacobs,
Yes.
Rochelle,
Yes.
Shannon,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
Weathers,
Yes.
9 ayes.
Motion is approved. You now have tenure. Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Take one like this, one like this.
It's a Kodak moment.
Yes, congratulations.
That doesn't exist anymore, does it? As they finish up this picture, board, we will take a 5-minute recess. I have 6:15, so at 6:20, we will reconvene. Meeting in recess. Agenda, and so now we will go with the director's update, the state of the system report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and many thanks to all those folks who were here tonight for tenure and the recognitions that we had and the information that Mrs. Ridgway shared. I think we go back to the student presentation. I think you see the heart of Lawrence County educators and how they recognize kids and take to kids and provide the best opportunities for our students. And scores are important, but they're not the sole definer of a great system, and so very proud of those folks. In the state of the system, I just want to cover a few things, and I will send this to the board, and you can look at it, and then you can call me, come by and see me, email me, whatever, if you have any questions. Lawrence County School System is the third largest district based on student enrollment, and the second largest based on the number of schools within our South Central core, which is 16 districts. So we're the third largest district based on enrollment, the second largest in the district based on the number of schools. So we're a good-sized district. Our overall enrollment this year, and it might get a little confusing with this, but we'll try to talk through it. We have 6,880 students, including our PVA. So that is pre-K through PVA. 6,880 students. This time last year, we were 6,931. So we're down about 51 students when you look at the overall total population in Lawrence County. A lot of those come from our Pioneer Virtual Academy, and it's down 27 students, and that sounds like a lot, but our Virtual Academy is designed that we take students who have a proven record, a homeschool behavior and attitude. We just don't take students. They have to meet a criteria to be in, because it's not a come and do very little and do PDA instead of brick and mortar. So those numbers are down, but that's by design. We've always had that business model in place, and we keep it. We want the best students in those programs. In our brick and mortar, the kids who are in our buildings, walk in our halls, pre-K through 12, is 6,760 students. And I know that number is lower, but when you take out the Virtual Academy, we're talking brick and mortar, kids in buildings each and every day in the district, 6,760. Last year, that number was 6,778. So we're down about 18 students, but overall 51 students down, population altogether. PVA, K-12, pre-K-12, 51, but overall brick and mortar only 18. So our numbers are staying pretty consistent from year to year. We're fourth in achievement, as Mrs. Ridgway mentioned. That has not always been the case, but we're fourth out of the 16 districts. And this year, and this is unusual for us because we're normally a high-growth district, we're ninth out of the 16. So we know the work we got to do and the things we've got to work on. Nearly 1,300 total employees. That is everyone who has received a paycheck from us. We have over 1,300 W-2 forms that the business office has put together pretty quickly to get out to our folks, and many of them are picking them up tonight. We use our student outcome dollars to fund some of our programs that are interventionist, tutoring, ACT incentives. Our folks do a great job. College and career readiness, third and fourth grade. We're making progress, and those dollars that come from the state are reinvested or invested back into programs that help kids, our tutoring, our interventionists, and those such things. Our graduation rate is 97.1. We're 22nd in the state. I think that's something to be proud of, because graduation rate is not just a high school measure. That starts when those kids walk through that door at year 4 and 5 of age and walk across that stage. It's everybody pushing and rowing that boat in the same direction. Our professional learning communities are underway and making great progress there. We still got some work to do in those, but I've said it and I'll say it again. When you put teachers together in a room and you give them a problem and you give them time, they'll solve that problem. They'll make things happen, and we're seeing a lot of that in our schools. When I'm out and about attending their instructional leadership team meetings, their PLCs, people are warming up to the professional learning community because they're hearing from their peers, those people in the trenches doing the heavy lifting. They hear that from them. So great work being done there. Our Ready Grad, and my numbers may all be off a little bit from what Mrs. Ridgway gave you, but the comparison to the state is what I'm looking at. Our Ready Grad was 69.5%. The state average was 49. 20% better than the state in ready graduates. Our CTE concentrator, 76%, and the state was 56%. So we're doing great work there. Our work-based learning, which is getting some traction, and that fluctuates annually based on enrollment, but at 32%, we're still higher than the state at 30%. So a lot of great things are happening there. Our ACT scores at the high school are starting to rebound. We're seeing some progress in those scores. That has taken a dip since COVID, but they're starting to bounce back. For example, Loretta High School's class of 2024, they're up 2 percentage points from the class of 2023. So they're approaching 20 composite. They're at 19.7. They're up 2 points in their composite. Lawrence County High School and Summertown made half percentage point gain. So we're making progress in those areas. Some challenges that I want to share with the board that I shared last year, and some of them are going to be redundant. Our community is expected to grow. We're expecting to see influx of people in the next several years, 5 to 7 years. I commend the board and applaud the board, as I think people in the community have told me they do, for taking a proactive step and bringing in a third party to assess our schools, our facilities, looking at the capacity of the facility, the upgrades that are needed, classrooms. All of that is underway in Lawrence County because the board has taken the steps to say we do not want to wait 5 to 7 years. We want to be ahead of that game. We want to make sure that we're prepared for that growth when it gets here. The MGT representatives were on campus this week. They were on campus yesterday and today, walking through our buildings, checking our buildings, finding out where opportunities lie for us to utilize those. I do think it's that we have to take a hard look at where we're going and where we've been, where we need to invest resources. I think zoning is something that the board will have to truly consider. We'll have to look at zoning as we grow. I think that's being a good steward of the taxpayer dollars, zoning and the impact that it's going to have in Lawrence County. But again, I go back to the board taking the steps to bring in a third party that removes emotion and just simply says, here are the facts. Here's what you need to do and how you need to do it without emotion being attached to it. I think that's a smart move on the board's part, and again, I commend you for that. Personnel, we've seen a decline in the shortage of teachers, though it still exists. We're not having the trouble, nor did we ever have truly the troubles that other districts have. We've been able to put people in the buildings because of the district and the people in the community. It's just a good place to work. It's a good place to live and raise kids, but we do have hard to fill positions, and they're usually at the secondary level. Secondary math is tough. Folks are not going into that field. The minds who have the ability to do mathematics at an advanced level are not joining education. And foreign language is another area that's a concern. We have to have foreign language teachers because it is a requirement as a part of the graduation. And special education at all levels. K-12 special education need is great, and it continues to grow. It increases every day, and Mrs. Marks talked about it. Every educator in this county can talk to you about challenges that we're facing with that. It's a shortage in special ed teachers, there's a shortage in math teachers, and there's a shortage in foreign language, something that we're going to have to address. Student transportation remains a concern. We have great people who get up and drive our buses, get our kids here, get our kids home, and answer the call to do extra things for us. But they are an aging group, and I'll speak to that in a little bit. We've got a serious issue on our hands in a few years, and we need to be prepared for that. And I'm not sure what that looks like at this point, but I can assure you we're going to keep working and try to figure it out as we go through this. Special education and mathematics, I believe we're going to have to look at that area differently. We've already differentiated pay for special ed. We did that this year thanks to the board of saying how can we attract more people into that field. Special education is something that you cannot address appropriately. You must deal with special education, and we're going to have to really think about how we differentiate pay scales in special education and in mathematics because they're lacking in numbers, and hopefully we can draw people into this field, and dollars do that. Let's just face it, dollars do that. So that's something that my office and our team is working on and will continue to work on. Our aging staff in transportation and also in maintenance. There's not a lot of folks who want to go into that line of work. the maintenance world. And so we've made some adjustments, and again, I thank the board for increasing that hourly rate to draw people to us. But even with that increase in the hours and the benefits of being in the school system, it's still not enough to make someone leave a 12-month job with limited time off to come and do it. So we've got work to do there because our buildings need work every day. Keeping buildings warm at this time of year requires a lot of work. We had maintenance men in on Sunday and Monday of this week, making sure heat was up and going like it needed to be. We had 3 schools that experienced issues on Monday afternoon, and those maintenance men were here. It takes a lot of work to keep buildings up and going. And we do have an aging staff there, but we've got to figure out a way to attract more people. The education savings accounts, the vouchers, I met with Senator Wally today, and I've had conversations with the other representatives and others. That starts Monday afternoon, I believe is the special session. We'll know, hopefully, where that's going to stand, but all indications that I've received and comments that have been shared with me that that's going to pass. And when it does, it may not have an immediate impact in Lawrence County, but it's going to have an impact on someone's kids down the road. And we will deal with that ever how it plays out. But if vouchers pass, there will come a time when we're looking at class ratios that are going to be 1 teacher, 29 kids. We're going to be looking at facility issues. There's a lot that goes into that. When those dollars leave the system, if they leave the system, there's some talk that they will not, but if they leave this system, and we've got a teacher that says, look, I've got 29 kids, I need another teacher. I'm sorry, we don't have the dollars to do that. Most teachers can do that, they will do that, but how long will they do that? Because that's tough on a teacher. That's tough on a teacher. So we know that's a challenge out there. We'll deal with educational savings accounts as they come up. Our Hispanic population is growing. I think I've shared that with the board several times. Total Hispanic population in Lawrence County is 312 students throughout our schools, 312. 90 of those students, Hispanic students, are non-English speaking students, 90 of those. We have 18 who are non-English speaking who are not Hispanic students. So I made that clear. 90 Hispanic students who are in the ESL program, and another 18 students from other subgroups that do not speak English, but 312 Hispanic students in Lawrence County. That number continues to grow. Our facilities, I'm happy to announce that over the last several years since 2020, this board has invested nearly $35 million in facilities, and it's a wide range of facility improvements, from infrastructure and technology to roofs to parking lots to bleachers to bathrooms. The board has been aggressive in addressing facilities, so thank you for that. I think every school's had some form of a capital improvement project, and some of those are still getting projects, and we're still working. Mr. Tucker and myself, we go out, we look and say, hey, that's a need, that's not right, we need to address it. And it's happening at all of our schools and will continue to happen. Last year, about this time, I had a discussion with David Morgan, Mrs. Elledge, Mr. Tucker and myself met with County Executive Morgan. We talked about a long-term growth plan and a number of things. From that conversation led to a bond that allowed a bond money now that allows the district to take this study from MGT, analyze that data, and say, where do we spend this money? Where's the best place to put this money into our buildings? And it may not be at a school that believes they need this. There may be zoning issues and some other things that now say this is where you need to invest the taxpayer dollar. So we're looking forward to that study. School safety, SROs in every school continues to be a focus. We're thankful for those SROs. I had a presentation here before the board meeting tonight that many of you board members were present for, the wearable alert systems, just another security measure that we have in place for our teachers, peace of mind for our teachers, quick responses from our first responders and so forth. A lot of doors have been replaced in Lawrence County. I know that doesn't sound like that big of a deal, but when you just imagine in your mind how many doors are at one building, external doors, and we're replacing doors throughout the county. It doesn't do us any good to have security measures in place if you can pull a door and come into it. And so we've made a lot of changes there, and proud of that work. We did a tabletop exercise, Mr. Tucker and myself, with local law enforcement, first responders, medical personnel, to kind of look at what would be the challenges if a minimal event were to occur, a mass event were to occur, and it was productive, and we want to do that again later with those same folks to say, how do we prepare for whatever may come our way? It could be as simple as a ceiling fall in and cause issues. We want to be prepared and have a plan in place for when that happens. Mr. Chairman, Chairman Daniel, Vice Chairman Dryden, and the board, your vision, what you have put in place for this school system, supportive ideas, trust of the central office, school leadership, the nearly 1,000 dedicated men and women who make up this school system, who I call difference makers, and I tell them every Friday morning they make a difference in the life of a child each and every day. Your work on this board is making a difference in the lives of teachers, our students, and this community. So thank you. While our data may not be the best that it's been in previous years, other districts would enjoy this data. They would be happy to have this data. We're not pleased with it, but we know we got work to do, but we do know that others would love to have it, and we're going to continue to work and do the best we can. Thank you all for giving me the opportunity to serve the students, to work for the students and the faculty in this county as director of schools. Thank you for that, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions from the board to Director Atkins?
I have a question for Michael, maybe more for Mr. Tucker, but when Ms. Marks was talking about the restrooms at Ingram South, what's the...
We have renovated several where we go in and gut restrooms, put up new partitions, flooring, that type. And I really don't know how many we've done. We've done several already, but we do have a list. She keeps referring to a list. There's a master list where when we finish one, we move on to the next as time permits. She's on that list.
Is theirs not operational? I mean, she was saying kids couldn't go.
No, they're operational. This is more cosmetic.
Okay.
This is more the partitions, stall partitions over time. They rust out, they get old, they need to be replaced, and so it's more of that need.
Okay. And Mr. Rochelle, I can tell you this project started probably 2021, 22 that Mr. Tucker and myself out, and when I'm visiting schools, I do a kind of a site check. I walk and look for ceiling tiles. Restrooms is one of the things that throughout the county needed a lot of attention, and we've done that at several schools, but I've asked Mr. Tucker to look and think outside the box on how we can expedite that process and maybe go to an outside vendor that can move through that pretty quickly.
Well, this is just my opinion, but I think she very easily has the toughest job in the county as far as school-wise. It's just my opinion, but I think she ought to be jumped to the top of the list and leapfrog some other schools, just to be honest with you. I mean, that's just what I think, but it's my opinion.
I do have, any other questions? Are you done, Mr. Rochelle?
I'm done.
Any other questions before I start in? So how, Mr. Atkins, how have our schools fared during this sub-zero temperatures that we've had? All pipes, everything held up?
Yeah, I think our issues, Monday afternoon we had a motor on one of our units malfunction and protocols were followed. I think Etheridge had a issue that was quickly resolved on that Monday night, and then Lawrence County had one. Our folks have done a great job. Mr. Jones has kept heat flowing through the buildings. He started that this past week on Saturday to keep the heat up. That was something we worked on. Mr. Rogers and the bus drivers were made aware of things that we needed to do with busing so we didn't have issues, and then county maintenance and site maintenance were prepared for it. So to my knowledge, it has worked very well, but we started planning for it probably last Wednesday.
So we do have a winterization protocol that we can meet and say we got to deal with, make sure this is.
It is more informal from myself to Mr. Tucker to Mr. Jones to Mr. Rogers to Mr. Brown to maintenance, and then when we were prepared for an hour delay, 2 hour delays, anything that may have come. Try to notify the principals in advance to be prepared for anything. I mean, you might get up at go in the building at 5 o'clock and there'd be a pipe bust at 6. Well, the school system has already been awake for 2 hours and moving, and it's hard to make decisions then. So we try to be more proactive than reactive during this time.
And then you make mention, and I've brought this up a time or two, but on the Hispanic non-English speaking, and the population of that keeps growing, how are we set? I mean, do we have the resources that we need to handle these? Are we handling that okay now?
We're making strides, but it's a struggle. And Mrs. Counts, Rachel Counts, does a great job of managing that. But those resources are starting to get stretched to some degree. Now, Mrs. Ridgway may have some information to share.
Yes, ma'am.
It's a statewide problem in meeting the state level and federal level requirements for time served, having enough people that have that endorsement. We have added positions. I think we've added 3 total, Jess, over the last 2 years. But part of the problem is finding the people to fill the positions.
Spanish-speaking teacher
We have
accredited.
teachers that have that endorsement that are classroom teachers that will take their plan time and do their plan time after school. So we pay them extra for their plan time so they can service kids during the school day. That's been part of the solution.
Is there any loopholes, Mr. Atkins, that says, maybe if we run into the case where we don't have the people with the credentials that they need, can you get community members in here to translators?
We can do translators, but I mean, that's like for IEP meetings or parent meetings. And
We
things
using
like that.
Google Translate? I mean, I just can't imagine trying to teach if I can't speak the same language as the kid I'm trying to teach.
We are right now, we're trying our best to
Oh,
meet
no
all of the-
doubt.
Yeah, all of the requirements that we can meet, just like, everybody else.
Well, I guess,
As far as we have put in a propitio, I think is the way you say it, but it's a service that whoever's at the front desk, whoever needs, if a parent walks in, they can call and have a translator on the phone. But as far as classroom teachers, there are protocols in place that we have for classroom teachers and what they're supposed to do with their students.
well, please know, we as a board want to make sure that all of our teachers in our classrooms have, if there's something we can do to help assist that we need to do, please let us know. And then finally, on this State of the System report, you made mention to doors. I guess I'll throw out this blanket question. Are we 100% secure at every school across this system that me or any other board member or anybody else in this community walks up and pulls on a door, it is not going to open?
If that door has been properly closed and latched like it's supposed to after use, we feel like that we've remedied that issue. Now, can a door during the school day break and there be some issues? Yes, but I know we identified the most in need doors in the county and put them at the front of the list, and we're still working that process. That has improved tremendously in the last year, I'd say, maybe the last 10 months. It's really picked up. We've done a better job with that.
Yeah, I know y'all been busy at working on that. So I'd just like to say, Mr. Atkins, thank you for your leadership and all the work that you do, your staff here at the central office, to all of our teachers, to everybody in this system for the hard work that y'all put in on a daily basis. And it's a privilege to sit up here and to do what we can to help you out as a board. So thank y'all for all that you do. Anything else for Director Atkins before we move on to the next item? Federal monitoring results.
Mr. Chairman, we're still awaiting a final draft, and we've also got a couple of things that we're working with the State Department regarding some audit findings. Once we get all that resolved, I will have a presentation or have a document for you, but that process is still in place. We were hoping it was going to be complete and be able to present tonight, but we're unable to do so.
Okay, LCEA?
Good evening. After the last board meeting, when there was some discussion about the Teacher in Service Day that was taken away in January. There has been a lot of teachers that really want that day back and ask that I bring that up, that hopefully you will consider it when you are in calendar meetings and different things like that. And I wanted to bring up also that the pre-K teachers are having an issue with trying to get something from the state to tell us how we have been scored. And I know Dr. Glasses tried to get that also. So I'm in the process of working with TEA, and they're talking to the State Department. If we can't get an answer, we've been trying to get an answer for probably a year and a half. We should know how we're being scored before we take the test. And that's always been the fact in the past, and it is not now. So anyways, if not, I'm going to be filing a grievance on behalf of the pre-K department.
Being scored, can you explain what, I'm not familiar with, what test, what your kids are being tested on?
Yes, they're being tested on the Ames Webb's test, and
there's not standards published for these pre-K teachers?
well, yes, go ahead.
So, and Katie may can help with it too, because our kindergarten, first and second grade, their teachers receive their level of effectiveness through Ames Webb as well. Kindergarten has just in the last 2 years become available to be on that same scale. So we chose to put everybody on the same scale with the understanding that there were norms for pre-K, which I have 2 emails saying they are, or we haven't seen those yet. We can't get them to send them to us. And with the kindergarten, first and second, the students get a composite score, which is taking certain components of the test to make the composite score. And then the score is calculated from fall assessment, the growth that occurs before spring assessment. With pre-K, we can't get them to tell us what components of the Ames Webb test our students are taking that they're utilizing to create that score. We can't get them to respond. Katie's reached out to her people with Pearson and Ames Webb. I've reached out to the pre-K department, and Ms. Thompson has reached out to like the teen folks. And it's like nobody knows the answer, but you know the answer has to be there because they got a score.
Yeah,
Exactly.
They tell us if you reach out that it's going to be calculated the same as K2, but there's no, I can run a report for kindergarten through second grade that tells me who grew, how much they grew, you know, and they've come out with a calculation. I can calculate it for them. I mean, there's ways to check. We have none of that availability with pre-K at this point.
Well, we've compared some of our scores, and you're not scored the same. And like she said, a lot of the principals can't tell us. They can tell us how kindergarten is scored, but we are not being scored the same way. And there's a little discrepancies there. We should be told the formula and how we're being scored. I mean, that's just a given.
Okay.
So anyways, I wanted you to know if that comes up, that's why.
So, Ms. Fernandez,
Yes, sir.
the grievance will be filed against who? The State Department of Education, or will it bring the Lawrence County School System into it as how will the grievance be filed?
It basically depends on what we find out from TEA, and then I've spoken with Greg that there's actually a guy that's a little bit higher up than him that's working on it, and he was going to send me some more things, and we're supposed to have a meeting and go over, what he finds out. We've been trying to find out for a while, and I know Dr. Glass has tried lots of times, and Katie has tried, Ridgeway has tried several times, and none of us can get an answer. There should be an answer.
It would have never, James, Dr. Glass and I would have never recommended that that's what we do if we had not been told and assured that there would be pre-K ones.
So this is what the Tennessee Department of Education, this is how they are scoring their kindergarten, first and second grade teachers on a test that is given by teachers in a school building and are scored by those teachers. I have a hard time with that. Wow. I mean,
I do think our K-2 teachers are appreciative that they have their own.
oh, I do, but it looks like to me it's kind of volatile.
But now
You know?
this issue is not K-2, this issue is isolated to pre-K.
Yes, sir.
And, I mean, and so you're kind of reporting this to the board just for a FYI, if you will, because I don't know what we as board members can do about this issue.
No, just in the past, we've been asked by, well, which a lot of the board members are gone that have asked us that before, but before we file a grievance, we have to follow the chain. I have to tell my principal, and then she has to go to Mr. Adkins, we let Dr. Glass know and things like that.
Yeah, I'm curious as to the question that Mr. Atkins asked, is what your representatives tell you who the grievance goes against, and if they come back and tell you it goes against Lawrence County school system, then my question to the state's going to be, what are we going to do about it? I mean, we have no power to, I mean, we didn't make this stuff up.
Right.
But, okay.
You're so right.
Yes, I'm just
I had to
letting you
curb my
know,
tongue.
and as soon as I find out from him, then we'll tell you what the next steps are. Hopefully, they will give us an answer. We need the formula.
I hope so. I wish you luck, and I don't mean that sarcastic. I mean, I'm seriously.
you.
Good luck with it. Thank you. Any questions? Tennessee Legislative Network? Dr. Shannon?
So I've been in contact, just to reiterate what Mr. Atkins stated about the special session that's going on. It's going to start the 26th. They're going to be voting on the vouchers. Like he stated, there's a few things to that. The last voucher bill, it did fail in the House. It was 36 pages. This one's 11. So speaking to the state reps, they're just wanting to make sure that we read the 11-page bill, and I do have a copy of that if anyone would like to see it. It's the new bill for what they're going to be voting on. I expressed quite a bit of concerns. I had a few questions that I think Mr. Weathers, you got contacted by the same person I did as well, and had a conversation. And a lady sent me an email with several holes poking into that bill, and I expressed them with the state reps, and I encourage everyone to just reach out to your state rep. However you feel about them is how you feel about them, but just reach out and make sure you talk to them and let them know how you feel. Read the bill in full, figure out what you like, what you dislike, and then let them hear from you. So that's what the biggest thing we can do. And I'll stay up. I'm going to actually go up there. I'm going to work in Nashville that day, so I'm going to go up there and I'm going to kind of watch some of the back and forth on it to see what they say. So if anyone has any questions
I
on
do.
that.
Chet, where do our representatives stand in support?
So the governor called a special session, so obviously I feel like he thinks that he has enough support to get it passed this time. And both of them are saying they're for it versus the way it was last time where they weren't fully for it. Now, neither of them's waving pom-poms for it, but I think at this point, they're probably going to support it. So. But, reach out, talk to them, tell them what you think, and both of them are great as far as communicating with people. They're not going to shut you down one way or another. They're going to hear you out, and I think Mr. Atkins, you've already spoke to them too.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah. And you might add to that.
Yeah, I've spoken to all of them through email, through phone conversations, in-person meetings, and shared my take on it with them, and I've asked teachers in my weekly address if they feel compelled to, one way or the other, just to do it professionally and tactfully, that we let them know where we stand on it, because we are professionals, but I don't know who's done that or who hasn't, but they have been encouraged to voice their concern or in favor of it.
Some of the concern is like they're saying we won't lose any dollars, obviously, if someone goes to the private school route. But if that's the case, then that puts a burden on the taxpayer.
That's right.
At the end of the day, you're double taxing. So they said there's a plan for that. So any question I had, they had a comment back on. I don't know if they're speaking points that the Speaker of the House has given out or what, but at the end of the day, they're our representative. It's on us to contact them, and I encourage everyone to do so. I don't want to express where I stood on it, but I pushed them pretty hard on getting answers. So I encourage everyone else to do the same.
So I do want to share something that I saw just on this note, Tullahoma put out a document, which I thought was really good, that talked about, if this passes, Tullahoma, 3.1 million could fund 57 annual teacher salaries. This document really it's very short, it's very easy to read. 3.1 million could fund Tennessee all corps tutoring for 2,088 students. So when you think about that funding and you think about taking the time to call and say, hey, do you see what this money could do for our district? It's powerful. So I'll be glad to share this with all of y'all. It was something that they shared on social media, but it really makes you think about, the 3.1 million that Tullahoma schools could get. So you think about Lawrence County and you think about Tracy Marks sitting there with students that need all that extra tutoring and all the, it's just really hard to support people that are voting that direction. Sorry, that's very political for me to say, but I mean it.
Any other questions or comments? All right, TSBA Day on the Hill, who's got that information?
I haven't received any of it.
Okay.
Let me check my email.
All right. Anything else before we leave report items? I think we covered everything. I know there was some bouncing around, but number 3, executive committee items. All of this information should have been passed to us in our weekly updates. Summertown High School football stadium lighting materials from the vendor, $150,000. Do we need to vote? I mean, this has already been approved and kicked off, right? This is just kind of a report item, right?
I think we still have to vote on this.
Still need to vote? All right, so we will, please call a roll. Or any questions on this? We've talked this through at the last meeting, I believe, but any questions? Oh, we need them. Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion.
We have a motion from Ms. Jacobs. We have a second.
Second.
Second from Ms. Alexander. Any questions? Please call roll.
Weathers,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
Shannon,
Yes.
Rochelle,
Yes.
Jacobs.
Yes.
Dryden,
Yes.
Daniel,
Yes.
Alexander,
Yes.
Adams,
Yes.
9 ayes.
Motion carries. Item number 4, budget items for consideration. LPS fencing, total 50/50 proposal, max of $10,000. You should have seen the bid on this. This is a standing board practice, and so any questions on this?
Motion to approve.
Have a motion and a second. Any final thoughts, questions? Please call roll.
Adams,
Yes.
Alexander,
Yes.
Daniel,
Yes.
Dryden,
Yes.
Jacobs.
Yes.
Rochelle,
Yes.
Shannon,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
Weathers,
Yes.
9 ayes.
Motion carries. Moving on. We've already covered 5, so let's go to number 6, policy items for consideration. Policies 5.118, background investigation, policy 2.806, bids and quotations, and policy 2.704, capital assets. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Move we approve as presented.
We have a motion by Mr. Dryden. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Please call roll.
Weathers,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
Shannon,
Yes.
Rochelle,
Yes.
Jacobs.
Yes.
Dryden,
Yes.
Daniel,
Yes.
Alexander,
Yes.
Adams,
Yes.
9 ayes.
Motion carries. Policies have been approved. Line item number 7, other items for discussion, spring sports schedules of 2025. I believe, again, that should be in everybody's packet. Any questions and comments regarding that? Yes, Mr. Atkins.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to remind the board, a couple of years ago, the board authorized me to make decisions for early dismissal for makeup games, things like that, state tournament appearances, overnight stays, and I will continue to do that unless the board authorizes me or directs me not to do that. But that will be in those cases when things happen and they have to leave early or stay overnight for whatever it may be.
I'll make a motion to approve these schedules and as also added to Mr. Atkins to maintain the authority to make those judgment calls.
I'll second it.
Any questions, discussions? Please call roll.
Adams,
Yes.
Alexander,
Yes.
Daniel,
Yes.
Dryden,
Yes.
Jacobs.
Yes.
Rochelle,
Yes.
Shannon,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
Weathers,
Yes.
9 ayes.
Motion carries. Last item on the agenda, next board member, February the 20th, 2025 at 5 p.m. I will also throw in there, Mr. Atkins, please communicate with the board and let's get the retreat that we had to cancel due to weather. Let's get that on the books and reschedule. This is through email or whatever. Let's find a good date that works well for everybody and get that back on the calendar. But any final questions, comments, frustrations, or anxieties before we dismiss? Motion to, I'll entertain a motion to dismiss.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion. Second. Meeting adjourned. Thank you all very much.